everyone. Good afternoon if you're watching it at a different time. Welcome to episode 3 of the Fandomonium show. Here again with my co-host, Mr. Rey Soto.
How's it going?
Pretty good. How you doing, my man?
Not too bad. I can't complain.
Awesome. So, at the time of this recording, we're sitting down not too long after all the festivities from week 1 of the NFL season have come to a conclusion. And being that we're from New York, if you guys don't know, I think a vast majority of you guys do, though. New York football really struggled this week. Mr. Ray, any thoughts?
Listen, after Sunday night, it wasn't looking good for the state of New York
As a whole.
Just sports in general, but just for football's sake, it was really bad. And you obviously went into Monday night. The Jets, new team, new quarterback, a lot of new things on 9/11. Well, the hopes were high. You know, the morale was really high. And I think it only took 45 seconds for the hopes to really die down, because I'm pretty sure Aaron Rodgers walked in the field at 12 minutes, 30 seconds left in the first and walked off with 11 minutes and 45 left in the first. It took 45 seconds of game time for a whole stadium to go silent.
Insane.
Ridiculous.
Insane. And you look at the tackle, or the sack. It wasn't anything out of the ordinary.
No.
It was a very routine sack. No. Obviously, I think going into the first game, the major concerns with the Jets, as dominant as they are, was the offensive line. And it's pretty evident that that's still a concern. But my gosh, just the way that whole thing went down. And you know what's crazy? I was listening to some shows. I was doing some research. Do you know who was the honorary captain of that game?
No.
Vinny Testaverde.
You're lying. You're a liar.
I swear. He was the honorary captain of that game.
No, he wasn't.
I swear.
Are you kidding me?
On the 24th anniversary.
It's so suspicious.
It is. So for everyone who doesn't fully understand why this is so strange, 1999, the New York Jets had a great team going into the season. They just acquired quarterback Vinny Testaverde. And much like this year's Jets, a lot of people were saying that they had a chance to go to the Super Bowl. Funny enough, my professor, Mike Tannenbaum, is the one who did that trade. He traded for Vinny.
Really?
He really did.
That's awesome.
Isn't that crazy? So, Mike Tannenbaum, GM of the Jets, traded for Vinny Testaverde. Going into week 1 of the season, they were playing the New England Patriots. And just like this team, there was a ton of hype. And going into the second quarter, Vinny Testaverde, the quarterback that everyone thought was going to lead the Jets to the promised land, finally, after what at that time would be 30 years, I think, about on the dot.
Yeah.
After 30 years, taking them back to the promised land, and sure enough, he tears his Achilles in his left foot on September 12th, 1999. 24 years later, on 9/11, the day before the 24th anniversary, Vinny Testaverde is the honorary captain of the game, comes onto the field, and many people were like, what is this dude doing here? Not that there's anything against the man personally, but just luck's sake. Just like out of pure, like, so he was the honorary captain, sure enough.
I didn't know that.
Sure enough.
I had no idea.
I think they said Aaron Rodgers was on the field from 8:25 to 8:36. Like from running. And I will say, because I'm not going to lie, I was in class when this happened.
Yeah.
I saw the video of him coming onto the field. What an entrance.
Goosebumps. Goosebumps.
What an
I gotta
entrance.
say, the NFL schedule makers, genius marketing.
The script writers.
I'm gonna get there. But there's usually 2 Monday Night Football games in the first week, because there's 2 Monday night games next week.
Mm-hmm.
They knew how well this game was gonna do, viewership wise, ticket wise, that they just had one game, 9/11 in New York, prime time. The new face of New York sports runs out the tunnel with the American flag, does the whole wave, whole thing. It was an amazing entrance because they blacked out the whole stadium, and all you see is green flashing lights flickering.
MetLife, and they had Jet Life on the screens all around.
Awesome. It was awesome. And then it really, really fast went not so awesome. So I do feel for Jet fans. I feel worse for the Jets defense. Because you have all the frustrations of last year, and you think it's done, we're good. Because man, did they play well?
wait, like I do not know if there's a team that could ever respond the way that the Jets did that night as a whole.
We got to save that for a little later because there is something I do want to get to how well they played, but
Okay.
there is something else. The injury was Aaron Rodgers' fault.
You think so?
They came out and said it. I did the same thing. I was super confused. I saw a YouTube video about it, and I was like, whatever. Then Shannon Sharp talked about it. I'm like, that's interesting. And then on the All 22 tape, they break it down. That play, because you saw the tackle chop block, right?
Yeah.
That's a design chop block because they did it on both sides. The point is for the chop block, and if you're a defensive end and somebody goes to chop block you, you immediately push down to get around them, to get them down. It was like it was a quick option. It's a 3-step drop back. Aaron Rodgers is supposed to throw it. You see on the play, Garrett Wilson's wide open. Both the tackles are down. It worked. Aaron Rodgers, he didn't throw it.
The ball.
He didn't throw it. But the problem with the chop block is if they get down on you, it's just a free run at the quarterback, and Aaron Rodgers isn't that fast.
Of course.
So whatever it was, obviously, you can't just blame Aaron Rodgers. Like, it's hard, especially the circumstances. But it was a design play that was supposed to happen. I know that, right? The tackle got a lot of hate for doing that. He got a lot of hate day one.
Was that Dwayne Brown or Mekhi Becton?
I don't know if it was Dwayne Brown, but the right tackle got a lot of hate, or it was the left tackle. A lot of hate. That was Aaron Rodgers' fault. The play worked. Garrett Wilson was wide open, and yeah, his foot got stuck in the turf, and you fall on it wrong, and it's just a tendon. There's only so much pressure it could take. It could barely hold up a human body by itself, let alone two. So, and you see in the video, it's snapping.
Yeah.
Which I hate stuff like that so much.
The only time I ever saw that, like on video, was when it happened to KD in the finals, like where you could visibly see the snap and the pop.
So I hate watching videos like that, even though it's been all over and I keep watching it. So you see it ripple, like you see it shake, and it's like, wow, that's disgusting. Because then you watch it, and like my Achilles hurts watching that. So it's one of those things where, but yeah, that's what I wanted to. I don't know if, obviously by your reaction, you didn't hear about that, but
yeah, I mean, I was very late to the party.
It was a little hard to hear that it was on Aaron Rodgers mostly, but
yeah,
no, you can't really blame anybody for an injury like that.
Absolutely, like it's a freak circumstance. There's a whole debate going on now about whether or not the turf contributed to it or not, and
that's another thing that I didn't even think about going into this podcast.
Really,
the NFL, for any stadium that's going to host a FIFA World Cup game, they're changing the grass.
They have to.
And
have
what
grass.
A coincidence! MetLife is one of those stadiums that instead of changing it when the players want to change it, they change it when FIFA wants to change it.
So that. Funny enough, so I mentioned Mike Tannenbaum as my professor. So my other professor in that class, Kevin Abrams, Senior Vice President of Operations at the Giants. So he knows very much about this whole thing going on. And I asked him that exact question in class, and his response, I understand why it's so difficult because there's a lot of upkeep that comes with having a grass stadium.
Oh my God, yeah.
And like it happened before where we played football over in England. I forgot what stadium it was at. It might have been Wembley or something. No,
I forgot.
We played in England. Yeah. And there was a scenario where the football game ruined the field so much that by the end of the game, it was totally done, and both teams had to pay out of pocket to finance fixing that field. So, that being said, just the amount of upkeep that goes into maintaining a field, especially in a stadium with no roof, there's no anything to prevent from weather, and we're in New York. But then also the fact that there's going to be a lot of cost in just being able to change it up and replace it because both teams are playing.
Absolutely.
There's just a lot of financing that goes into a decision like that. So, I don't know. Can you make the argument that it should be done? Yes, especially because how many injuries, unfortunately, happen at MetLife Stadium. I don't know if it's a karma thing. I don't know if it has something to do with the training on both teams. But bottom line is, like, there's Sterling Shepard last year was just walking towards ACL. So I don't know if it's anything about that. But then also there's an exec who came out yesterday and said that the studies really show that there's no difference in whether there's an uptick in injuries for grass or turf. So I don't know. There's a huge argument about it. I'm not knowledgeable on grass or turf surfaces to chime in on it.
Not the one to ask,
So, but that being said, the other tragedy at MetLife, my New York Giants. What do you think?
Well, as a person who had the Cowboys defense in fantasy, I'm a happy camper.
Shut up.
Yeah, it was no, it was hard. It was a little hard to watch. I'm not gonna lie, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And at the end of the game, when it's 40-0, and you see backups coming in, I was still confused why Daniel Jones was out there. It's
Mm-hmm.
not good for his confidence. It's not good for the team. It's not good for his health. It's
At all. Just
so
anyone.
I don't know. It's frustrating. The Giants are not that bad. Same way the Cowboys aren't that good.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those fluke games. It's week 1. You know,
Weather.
all the drama in the offseason, like you still got to shake off all the rust. The weather, it was pouring, so you know, and the Cowboys' offense didn't do that well. If it's like a testament
Yeah,
that
Dak didn't
neither
really-
offense did well. It's just the Cowboys' defense is a top 3 defense in the league on paper, and
Absolutely.
they showed it. They showed it. So
Unfortunately.
of course, I think the odds were against the Giants in that when you're
Mm-hmm.
playing a defense and the weather, but you got to shake it off. You got to get over it. There's nothing you can do about it now. So they're not that bad. They aren't that bad. So
Do you mind if I go on a rant?
oh please,
Because I have been. It's days after. I needed time to
yeah,
cope.
yeah. Okay.
I, in my 22 years of drawing breath on this planet, have never been more disgusted with an opening season game, let alone a game played by the Giants. That
Oh, wow.
was horrendous, abysmal, disgusting, putrid, any other syllable adjective that I could spew to convey how disgusting that was.
Wow.
And you know what makes it worse? We all offseason we're talking about how Daniel Jones is so overpaid. Daniel Jones, like, why do we give him all this money? And we're finally surrounding him with talent. I understand why we paid him. It was relative to the market. We need a quarterback. It makes sense. And he proved last year that he can carry that weight of being the guy in New York. We finally put something around him. I'm not saying they're all wide receiver ones, but we gave him talent to work
Yeah.
with. We got a top 5 tight end when healthy,
Yeah.
which is a guy that he, in the preseason, utilized very much. Evan Neal, if I see you in the street and I say what I want to say to you, you'll probably beat me up. But I promise you, I think him and Mark Lewinsky. Mark Lewinsky allowed more people to walk through him than a door. It was disgusting. It was horrible. Evan Neal, the whole offseason, oh yeah, I'm working on my technique. You see him working with Hall of Famers, improving his form, and you're thinking, okay, maybe year 1 was a fluke. Maybe there was growing pains. He's a rookie. He'll get it. He played worse than Eric Flowers, do you know who that Eric Flowers?
Yes.
The guy we drafted first. That was the worst showing that I have ever seen out of this Giants team. And that's a team who had a game where they went for a QB sneak on 3rd and long on
Yeah.
their own 20-yard line.
They did do
It
that.
was worse than that.
They did do that.
I speechless. For 2 days, today's Wednesday. This game was 3 days ago. For 2 days, I couldn't even speak on the Giants because I knew how upset I would get. I've had time to cope. Abysmal, embarrassing, and shameful. And that's my TED Talk.
Okay. You know.
But speaking of performing teams,
Yeah.
everyone played this week.
Yes. Yes, they did. They sure did.
So I kind of want to get your take on your top 5 teams. We'll do a little power ranking
I
from
know,
everyone
yeah.
who played so far.
You know, I was
What
excited.
are you
I'm
thinking?
excited for this. 1-5.
5-1.
I had Miami. That offense is so fun to watch. Again, another fantasy player I have, Tyreek, made my day. It really saved me. I think coming into the year, Tyreek said, I want to hit 2,000 yards. It's never been done by a wide receiver. People looked it off. He's on pace to shatter that right now. Obviously, you can't keep
a week
can't
one.
keep a 215-yard pace, but still, he's really putting his foot out there. Tua looked a lot better, and
I was going to say, good for Tua.
yeah, and it's not that I'm a Tua hater. I'm not a big fan of Tua. I'm not a fan of Alabama quarterbacks in general. You know
Likewise,
that. I've talked about
likewise.
that for years. So good for him to really defy the odds. And the second year in the Shanahan system is always the jump year. So
Yeah.
I really think it's going to be good things for the two of them. Okay, my 4 is KC. Even though they lost without the best tight end in football, who's arguably better than most wide receiver ones.
Uh-huh.
Their wide receivers were terrible. Awful. The run game is, it's one of those it's like the 16th in the league. It's literally middle of the pack because the offensive line, nothing's crazy, but they have the best player in football. So impossible to take them out of the top 5.
Without a doubt.
Defense was pretty decent against
It wasn't
Lions
bad.
offense.
It wasn't bad.
And now they have their best player back. The best defensive player. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So Chris Jones is back. So it's gonna be hard to take him out of the top 5. So 4 is good enough.
Okay.
3 is Philly because Philly's still overall the best roster in football.
Okay.
It was a rain game against a New England team that always plays well because they have the best coach ever.
Okay.
So nothing. Even if they give up 20 points, yeah. So what was it? It was 16-0. I think
And
it was like 20
25-20.
unanswered or something. Yeah. There was 20 unanswered. So nothing really against them. My 2 is Dallas because they had a 40-point shutout in week 1, which is something that has only been done once ever before. And the defense is ridiculous. They have Michael Parsons. I think after this year will be the best edge rusher in football. They have probably the best cornerback duo in football, if not top 3 for sure. To a Hall of Famer for sure, and Trayvon Diggs. And even though I think he's overrated, he's still on pace to be one of the best.
For sure.
And the offense, I don't want to talk about the offense, but San Francisco is obviously number 1 because you went into Pittsburgh, you beat down Pittsburgh, you have all pros on both sides of the ball. You probably have arguably the best roster. Them and Philly, it goes back and forth, but there's a lot of questions on Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy really silenced a lot of people going into this game.
For sure.
Pittsburgh isn't the best team, but Pittsburgh is far from the worst team. So
Absolutely.
This is definitely an impressive win.
For sure.
That's my 5 right there.
Honestly, I have the same 5, but just in a little bit of a different order.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So 5, I have Philly.
Oh.
So I get it. The roster is very talented, very deep, but I get where you're coming from, where they're playing in rainy weather. You're playing against Belichick.
Yeah.
Like it's very hard to come through and blow them out per se.
Yeah.
But I will say, first half they looked pretty solid, but the second half it was evident that they lost both of their coordinators. I think.
Oh yeah.
I think the offense just went stale, and Jalen Hurts wasn't able to do much. They shut down both receivers, and then like we said before, the defense just kind of allowed that comeback to happen. And I don't know if it was maybe because Brady was there and they were doing that whole honoring
high
of
morale.
him, if that
High morale makes a big difference.
Yeah, so I don't know if that gave them the momentum to really come through and make it a competitive game. But I think just the fact that they allowed that to happen to a team who's most likely not making the playoffs this year in a competitive AFC, I think that spoke volumes to me. So that's why I put them at 5.
Okay.
4, I have Kansas City. I have them at the same place as you.
Yeah.
I agree on everything that you said. They have the best player in football. The Lions aren't a team to just scoff at. They're going to be a very competitive team this year.
It's a playoff team.
And it was a 1-point loss.
It's a 1-point loss.
It wasn't like it was anything where they showed that they can't compete with a top team. It wasn't where it showed like they were outmatched or outcoached. It simply, in all truth, just came down to the fact that their receivers have literally no hands.
I think that was 100% it. That was 100% without a shadow of a doubt the wide receivers.
It was horrible, and you can get me started on Kadarius Toney. In my video I put out, I said I think the Chiefs should cut him. Genuinely speaking, for the headaches that he brings to a franchise in terms of what he does off the field, and for him to follow all of those antics up with a performance like that, I think they said that was the lowest PFF rating for a wide receiver ever.
It was like 12 or something.
Yeah. It's horrendous.
On a side note, he played so bad in that game, I wanted to sell his card on Madden. That's how bad he played, that I didn't even want him on my MUT team. All right, so let's sit in for a little bit. That's how bad he played.
It's insane. It's laughable to an extent because this is a guy who talks so much.
He does. He's loud.
He talks so
He's
much.
Loud.
And, I have no problem with players having an ego and being confident and full of themselves if they can prove it.
Yeah.
And he did the total opposite, and he put his team and himself in a situation to just look horrible or worse than they really were.
Yeah.
So that's all over. I think Kelsey coming back will have a bigger impact.
I think that's the
than not.
difference.
Chris Jones too. So I still think they're top 5. They have the talent for it.
Absolutely.
So they're not number 1, but they're definitely not worse than like the top 5. So they're at 4. Number 3, I put Miami.
Okay.
Only because Tyreek said it himself. I don't think there's anyone who could genuinely guard him.
No.
There's no one in this league who can guard him. And Tua, I'm not a Tua hater by any means, and you and I both have the same outlook on Alabama quarterbacks. But that being said, for a game where this team had a lot of hype and where the AFC is going to be so competitive, and Herbert just got his contract extension, and there's a lot of hype around his name. And this is the same guy that Brian Flores wanted to draft over
I know what you
Tua.
meant.
For him to come into Los Angeles and perform the way he did and silence everybody, put everything to bed. Jalen Waddle didn't even see that many targets, but he still performed and did well. And Tua's on like the same way we said Tyreek is on pace. Tua's on pace to break the single season record for passing yards.
Yeah,
it's crazy. So, and I will say Jalen Phillips looked really good as well.
I think he was the one that iced the game. So
yeah, bro. Like
that was impressive.
He showed up, he showed out, and I don't know if that defense could perform the way it does with Jalen Ramsey coming.
I was gonna say I didn't like the defense at all.
I didn't like it either. I like Jalen Phillips. I will say, Herbert is hard to play against, especially when he has
Herbert was so clutch.
Like,
it's not even funny.
He has Keenan Allen. He has Mike Williams, but now he also has Quentin Johnson.
Yeah, and he also has one of the best backs and obviously one of the best backup backs.
Yeah,
so
like it's a hard offense to compete with.
A fun fact about that game.
What's up?
Miami never had an offensive snap with the lead.
Really?
They never had the ball with the lead.
You're lying.
Nope.
Look at that. Good for them.
Yeah, that's hard.
Good for them.
Hard.
That's a hard game to win.
Yeah. That's a fun game. That was the game of the week for me.
Absolutely.
It was a shootout.
Absolutely.
Actually, I don't know if it was the game of the week after Monday night, but
well, yeah, that's fair. That's totally fair. But just I think from like beginning to end, that was a game that just had everybody.
Those shootouts.
Yeah, like it was great. So that being said, I have Miami at 3. I think if Los Angeles won, I might have had them at 5.
Yeah, I honestly think so.
So it's one of those games where it can determine how you're viewed going forward.
Yeah.
So Miami at 3. Number 2, I have Dallas. Unfortunately, it kind of sucks to say that, but like you said, they just dominated every single side of the ball, offense, defense, even special teams. For Christ's sake, the first touchdown came off a blocked kick, blocked field goal. Horrendous.
Should have seen me screaming. I had him on fantasy, man. You should have seen me yelling. And then the pick 6, which that was more on Saquon, just letting it pop up in the air like that. He got popped.
He got hit.
Popped. So it's not his fault, but it wasn't on Daniel Jones.
It didn't help.
It didn't help. And then the end of the game, that punch out by Trayvon Diggs.
I turned the game off.
That one was really embarrassing. I think that was like these receivers, like who was that? That was Isaiah Hodgins, right?
Probably.
Who's 18?
Oh, that's Hodgins.
Okay, so that was him. Yeah, that was a little embarrassing, letting him track you down like that and punch it out. But water under the bridge. What are you gonna do? They play Arizona next week, so if it goes bad again, then the season's a wrap. But
you know what's crazy? I actually am scared for that game.
Arizona played way
better
than I
thought. They played Washington very
Washington
closely.
has a really good defense. They played them way better than I thought.
And it's the fact that we were competitive with Washington, like through every snap last year. So I don't know. I'm scared. I don't know what's gonna happen, but that's neither here nor there.
Who's your 1?
Number 1, I got 49ers there too.
Yeah, it's hard.
Like you said, just the way Brock Purdy silenced everything. And you know what's crazy that I didn't really factor in as well? That was a 1 p.m. game, no?
Yeah.
That's a West Coast team coming off of a 3-hour time difference.
Yeah.
For them to show up the way they did against Pittsburgh, who I wouldn't say the whole offseason was getting a lot of hype, but definitely towards
the preseason.
The preseason really did it for them because of how good Kenny Pickett looked.
Kenny Pickett looks great against people that were barely making rosters, right? That makes sense.
I think he had one incomplete pass. He was like 14 to 15 or something. Like he was really good.
Yeah.
So I understood where the hype was coming from, especially because their defense is pretty nice as well. But for them to go in there and really just nearly shut them out the way they did and look as dominant as they did.
Yeah.
You have to acknowledge the talent on the roster as well. I think it's only going to get better with time. And they barely use Debo. Like every receiving
Ayuk was crazy.
Play. Yeah, every
Ayuk
big play.
Crazy.
Ayuk, he's a dog, bro.
Christian McCaffrey, that run was ridiculous.
Oh, the one where he broke right out the middle, did a little spin and took it to the crib.
A spin and then the rest was
it's beautiful.
Yeah, San Francisco's a scary team.
They're gonna be competitive to the end. They're my Super Bowl pick not to win, but to get there. I definitely think they can. If Brock plays the way he did, they definitely will. But yeah, man, they're looking very good. So
it's
we'll
hard
see.
to bet against them.
Absolutely, bro. But speaking of the top of the league, let's talk about the top guys in college football right now.
Love it.
Quarterbacks. So I think coming into the season, we all knew Caleb Williams and Drake May were the top 2. But Shedeur Sanders, man, I'm so happy for that guy and Coach Prime as a whole.
It's a story.
It's insane.
Yeah. So, like, I don't even know where to start. Colorado won one game last year, and it's whatever. Like, who cares, right? All of a sudden, they signed Dion. All of a sudden, all those people from Jackson State move over. All of a sudden, they're getting 5 stars, 4 stars. And people are like, okay, but it's still Colorado.
Mm-hmm.
They have to play the team that lost the national championship last year, TCU.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's a whole new TCU team.
It's a very different team.
But from Colorado to go from the worst Power 5 team, I think undisputed, they were the worst Power 5 team.
Yeah, absolutely.
To beating TCU in a shootout where Shedeur Sanders broke the passing yards record. That's
in his
crazy.
first game. His first game
That was
there.
his first game. That was crazy. They beat Nebraska last week, who had an NFL coach.
Matt Rule.
Matt Rule was an NFL coach for, 2-3 years?
Carolina.
In Nebraska. And Colorado, in their home opener, beat them. And you saw the crowd just rush the field. It was awesome. I love seeing that stuff.
It was nuts. But,
yeah,
man. I have a hot take. I'm not going to lie. So, do you know who Colorado is playing the next 3 weeks? Yeah.
Okay, so what is it? Colorado State, Oregon,
USC.
And oh, wow.
I think whoever wins the USC Colorado game is going to win the Heisman. Either Caleb Williams or Shedeur Sanders. It's a hot take, but that type of win both teams are probably the 2 most hyped teams in college football right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a statement if you go in there and beat one of them. Quinn Ewers right now is being talked about as a Heisman potential just for beating Alabama, who has no quarterback.
Yeah, I actually wanted to. According to Vegas Insider, I got the odds this morning. Obviously, Caleb is far front runner with plus 380 odds. Then it is Quinn Ewers with 750, and then Jordan Travis, the FSU quarterback.
He's in third.
He's third, 900. Then Michael Penix, obviously, I think he was top 3 going into the year.
Absolutely.
Who's next? Is it JJ McCarthy is here?
I'm not. I'm an Ohio State fan, so anything Michigan, I'm party. But I don't think they've really done
that.
Much
One's
for
questionable. Then it's people like Sam Hartman, Bo Nix. Shedeur is still plus 3,000, but it went from like plus 5,000 to plus 3,000 in 2 weeks. So there's really that's a scary jump.
Dude, I will say, and like, I wrote down some interesting numbers from him so far. In 2 games, he leads the entire Power 5 in passing, and some of them played 3. Caleb Williams played 3 games. He leads the Power 5 in yards, in passing yards. He has 903 yards off 2 games.
He does. Wow.
Off 2 games. 6 touchdowns, not the greatest. Well, I mean, it's pretty good, but I'm just saying it's not the best.
No, it's still good.
But no interceptions, 69% completion. And he's 13th in the country in QBR.
Oh, wow.
Off 2 games. He's already putting himself in that conversation. He looks calm. He looks poised. He's able to make every throw needed. But listen, I genuinely in my heart believe that if they go and play USC and they come away with a win, there's no reason why. And I'm not saying only Shedeur. I think Travis Hunter is going to be one of the 2.
Shot.
It's one of the 2.
It's a real shot.
It's either
if
those
not
2.
This year, next year.
Yeah.
Travis is a real shot.
I genuinely think that they can make a statement.
I think Travis will have like a way better odds when people like Caleb Williams are in the Power 5, Drake May, Michael Penix. Is Michael Penix a junior? He might be a sophomore.
No, he's not. No. Because he transferred from.
You're right. So he's definitely not a sophomore.
He transferred from somewhere in the Big Ten, I think.
Yeah. So who else? Bo Nix. When people like that aren't in the running, I think Travis Hunter's gonna be way high. You make a face, but Bo Nix is a dog.
He's not bad, but it's just the fact that
he's a dog.
They almost lost last week,
but they didn't.
But they almost did. That's the problem.
They didn't lose.
Who were they playing again? Who are they?
Texas
Tech, right?
Texas Tech isn't terrible. They're not ranked, but they're not terrible.
They're not bad. But I will say, well, I actually, before I even say, of the 3 quarterbacks that we're really talking about, outside of like the ones that we're saying are Heisman potentials, for the draft, rank your top 3 quarterbacks going into it, this upcoming draft. Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Shedeur.
Caleb Williams, I think, is still 1. I still take Drake May and Shador because I haven't seen.
You
enough
take
from
Drake
Shador.
May over Shador?
Right now? Yes, I haven't seen enough.
No.
He's
What have you seen out of Drake May this year that makes you think that he's a better quarterback than Shador going?
Based on these 2 games, nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing. But he has the resume. He played all these teams last year. He played Appalachian State in overtime. Appalachian State, they play hard. They're not ranked. They won't be ranked anytime soon. I feel like they're not good on paper, but they play hard. I have nothing against him in that win, but I don't know. Just a resume. Like, we saw Drake May play Power 5 last year, so.
So we're going to do a little compare right now.
Mm-hmm.
In 2 games, 470 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 interceptions. You remember where I said Shador was, right?
Yeah.
Shador has nearly double that.
Yeah, I hear you.
More than double that.
Yeah, but obviously a lot changed to start the season. I'm saying right now, based on these, because Drake May did it last year, and I still believe in Drake May. It could change in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I could just say Shador over Caleb Williams. So at the rate they're going, I might be. I don't know. We'll see.
If Shador goes to play USC and blows them out, does he put himself to be drafted over Caleb Williams, do you think?
No, but he'll definitely be a top 10 pick. Definitely.
Realistically, where do you see him going as of right now, if he was to declare?
Right now, he's still a first-round quarterback, 20s.
Really?
If the draft was today, 20s. I think you take a shot on him.
Would you take him or Quinn Ewers?
I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I have to sit on that. I have to sleep on something like that.
Okay.
That's hard. That one's hard.
I will say, again, I'm an Ohio State fan, so I have some negative feelings towards Quinn Ewers.
Yeah.
I feel like he used the program just for strictly NIL and to get out of school. But that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
Just making it known. But he was, I think, one of the most highly scored prospects
Quinn
ever.
Ewers?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty
By
sure he
24/7, right?
Yeah.
And I will say, the Bama game, I think,
awesome.
put them on the map.
Yeah.
More than before. I think they were somewhere on the radar.
Yeah, what
but
are they,
now,
4 now? I think they're top 4, right?
I think they're 5. Are they 4 or 5? Did the AP come out for this week?
Week 3, AP, Texas is 4.
They're 4?
Yeah, they're 4.
Wow.
They had 2 first-place votes, though.
And then who's at 3? It's FSU?
3 is FSU.
Interesting.
Then USC, OSU, PSU, yeah, as it should be. But yeah, that's what we think about the college quarterbacks. Obviously, it changes every week. They play a lot of games, so excited to see what Shador does this week.
Absolutely.
I think the Oregon game is a big telling for them playing an actual ranked team. Because
TCU, yeah, they don't really count.
Literally like a whole new, it was like basically new 22 players.
They just got the ranking because of where they were last year.
Yeah, that's it. But, they're going in, I think it's at Oregon, so. Eugene is hard to play. Is it? Let me double check before I just say something completely wrong.
Look up the Colorado schedule because I want to see if they play at USC as well.
At Eugene, but then it's at Colorado.
Ooh.
Eugene's a hard place to play at. I think that's a big telling for them. If it's close, if somehow Colorado could win, they have a real shot at beating USC.
My gosh, man.
It's exciting. We'll see.
I genuinely think, especially if it's a shootout,
Only time will tell.
they're gonna. It's my hot take.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take.
I'm coming through. I'm gonna start coming through with a lot more
That's
hot
good.
takes.
Yeah.
I want to come through with a lot more hot takes.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah, man. All right, so that's it, guys. That's it for today. Apologies for not posting in a little bit. Both me and Ray have been a little bit busy.
Yeah.
So starting up school, my man has work here. He's doing school as well. So definitely a lot on our plates. But we're happy to be back. We're happy to do this again. And, thank you guys if you made it this long for tuning in. We always love and appreciate all the support. Don't forget to follow us on our socials. Drop everything in the bio. And we're still doing that jersey giveaway.
Yep.
So we're only at 13 subscribers right now.
Oh, we're 13 now.
We're at 13.
Exciting.
We're at
3
13.
episodes in, 13. What is that? It's 4 an episode.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep it going.
So it's progress, baby. But we're still doing the jersey giveaway once we hit 100. So if you want a free jersey, don't be afraid to subscribe. Definitely gives you a better chance to do that.
Yep.
But also just make sure you like, share, and then as always, we appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Take care.